Welcome to Unit 3, Building Your Public Reputation. Your major writing assignment this week, in addition to your shorter Piazza post on what you learned inside of college, will be to draft your personal statement. And this is going to be one of the first ways you really start practicing how you are representing yourself publicly. So to get you started with that drafting process, I wanted to make a little video here that supplements the lectures that you have this week about various ways of presenting yourself online with some really fascinating case studies of different college-aged folks and how their choices about how they present themselves publicly shaped their online reputations. So I wanted to look really specifically at a few examples of personal statements that previous CAT 125 students have written, so we can develop some strategies for you in terms of how to put your personal statement together in the most effective way possible. Let's start, again, we're thinking rhetorically all the time in this class, so we want to think about the audience for a personal statement and what their expectations might be. So here's a short list of what an audience for a personal statement is expecting to see, what they're using the personal statement to generate. So they want to see your writing ability, what your areas of interest are, research or work experience, educational background, immediate goals, long-term goals, your reasons for pursuing a particular field, your level of maturity, motivation and commitment, how realistic your expectations are, and what makes you unique amongst the pool of candidates. Now, as you've been working on your Piazza posts for what you learned outside of college and what you learned inside of college, you've really been generating a lot of material that will help you craft a personal statement that will fulfill some of these expectations. Let's look at some specific strategies for how you can go about doing that. So the first strategy I want to talk to you about is supporting your assertions. So here, again, these are all real samples from previous CAT 125 students. I won't read the full passage here, but you'll probably want to pause the video so you can read the passage. I'll just focus on the strategy here. So again, our strategy, supporting your assertions. This student starts out with an assertion in this paragraph that she has a well-rounded approach to business because she's worked within different fields. So you see as you read through the paragraph that this student has worked in both a research lab environment and in the business side of research development. So the student provides two specific examples that support this assertion that she is well-rounded and has experienced both sides of a particular field. So instead of just making that claim, she supports that claim with concrete evidence. And you've been generating that concrete evidence in your Piazza posts. So you want to draw on that in order to support claims so that your audience has a reason to believe your assertions. The next strategy is very much related to the first one. This is providing relevant detail. So here we have a sample from an engineering student, and this student talks about, in this paragraph, writes about his experience with two different engineering teams. And in addition to just making the statement that he was a part of those teams, he gives relevant detail that outlines his role on the teams. So it outlines his role as a leader, his role as generating funding for the team. So there's specific detail that explains what the teams were about and his role on them, but there's also not extraneous detail. There's not detail that doesn't relate in this particular paragraph to his role on the engineering teams. The next strategy, accounting for anomalies. So this might not be something that all of you need to do in your personal statements, but for those of you who might have some difficulties on your transcript, who might have made a radical change in your field of study and you want to explain that to your audience, the personal statement can be an opportunity to do that. So this sample comes from a student who was applying to music education programs, but who wasn't a music major. He had a great deal of experience with music outside of the university, but had only taken some coursework in music at UCSD. So here, what the student does is he turns that situation into a positive by explaining how his coursework outside of the music department shapes his identity as a music educator. So talking about his experience with mathematics and how that shapes his role as a musician and a music educator. Also talking about his non-academic interests. So how experience with sports can be relevant to his role as a music educator. So when you're trying to account for an anomaly, the important thing is that you don't make the negative or so-called negative about your profile into the whole focus of your personal statement. You want to address it and you want to be honest about it, but you also want to make sure that your audience is left understanding how you are still a very strong candidate for the program or the scholarship or whatever it is that you are applying for. And finally, the final strategy we have here is to explain the program's appeal. Again here, as we've been talking about this whole video, detail is really important, concrete detail. So here we have a psychology student who is applying to a clinical psychology program at UCLA. In order to express how the program is relevant to her experience and her interests, she identifies two specific faculty members in the program that she's interested in working with and identifies that she's familiar with their research and sees how she could be someone who could contribute to the program and contribute to the research profile of the university. So keep these strategies in mind as you're working on your drafts this week, and make sure that you're drawing from the details that you generated in your Piazza posts in order to support the claims you're making. Good luck, and I will see you in Piazza. Thanks.